Hi, my name is Frank Scanlon. In English Composition 2, headed up by Professor Brian Campbell, we were asked to write a rhetorical analysis essay of an article that we chose. I chose one from the text of Practical Arguments of Gerald Jones, the violent media is good for kids. It was an article that was written to Mother Jones in 2008. In this article, I kind of identified with Jones because he did a great job of presenting, like, well, in comparison, my childhood, I used comic books to deal with some of the frustration issues that I had while I was growing up, and I kind of identified with it. So in that essence, he wrote an essay that actually kind of identified with me. So I was ready. The first time I read it, I was ready to defend what he was saying. You know, that we did need more violence with kids to help them with their issues, issues and problems. But it wasn't until I started reading it and kind of breaking it down a little bit that he didn't actually present enough evidence and examples or facts, even statistics, to back up his claims. There was times where he actually well, his first example was his son. After he started a ministry called Power Play with his partner Melanie Moore, a psychologist. He identified with the individuals that had the same problem as him growing up, and the way he dealt with them was through comic books and identifying with them, and through interacting with the superheroes, pretending like he was a superhero. He would act out a lot of his frustrations. So he wanted to help other kids with this. So he gave some examples in the article, and they were good, but they were vague, and they didn't actually go into real specifics. I mean, I think as a comic book creator, I think he had a lot of authority. I mean, he has a lot of authority in this area, but I mean, he didn't present a lot of other outside opinions other than kind of hearsay. Kind of, it was nothing that was concrete as a counter argument. So it was almost one-sided, and he, in his article, he was more or less asking not for censorship, national-wide censorship, because of like the recent killings, the guns, which he just touched on, but he kind of moved away from it real quick because that would have lessened his argument considerably. And there was just a lot. There was a lot in his argument that really didn't actually that didn't back up his claims. More or less, he was asking for more exposure for children and with violence through the media, like TV shows, and he didn't want censorship on it. So he presented arguments on the fact that rage is in everybody, and it needs to be, and actually needs to actually come out and actually be able to filter itself out or kind of wear itself out. I thought that was okay with some kids and isolated incidences, but I didn't think he presented his argument strong enough for a nationwide actual implementation of this actual this program that he started. I mean, the psychologist that he presented, Melanie Moore, was his partner, so it was kind of suspect actually his evidence or his authority that he presented for his essay was somebody he worked with. So that's kind of a credibility kind of thing, because if you're working with them, there's not much that you can add to that. I just found that it wasn't a solid argument all in all, and he didn't present. He had a lot of emotion. He just didn't, when the logic, let's just put it this way, to gain access for children, for the majority of children, just to address the small amount of children that it may be providing, didn't actually, it didn't give me enough confidence to endorse it. For isolated instances, yes, it would work, but not for that. That was in essence my essay. Thank you very much.